This happened when I was about 12 years old in Kansas. I was sitting in my bedroom playing Halo. My parents were both out running errands and my sister was at work. So I was home alone with my two dogs, a little terrier and a Bichon Frise. Not exactly the attack dog breeds, more like early warning systems at best. I had been home alone before. It really was not a big deal. We lived in a pretty safe part of town that I had never had any problems, other than that one time where some people sprayed KKK graffiti on some public park equipment. I was kicking back in my chair, Doritos in one hand, controller in the other, full gamer mode, when I heard the very distinct sound of my door open and close, like someone had just come in. The room I was in faced in such a way where I could not see the front door. My dogs got up and ran into the living room, and so I just assumed my parents were home. I shouted for my mom to confirm this. I'm a bit paranoid due to the aforementioned being a weird shit magnet. I heard no response. My dogs were also not barking like they normally do when someone gets home. I thought that was kind of weird, so I paused my game and walked into the living room. Nothing. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I had heard someone come in, clear as day. I was not wearing headphones. I had the TV turned down and was listening to music, so I knew it couldn't have been the game. I immediately went to my parents' closet and grabbed our shotgun, like a good Midwest boy tends to do. The only problem that was I did not know where my dad kept the shells, so my plan was to fake it and hope they didn't have a gun of their own. Stupid plan. I wasn't the brightest kid. At this point, doubt started to kick in. Had I actually heard the door? Was it the game? But then I thought, would the dogs jump up like that if it was? I walked back into my living room, unloaded shotgun pointing in front of me. I tried to call my dad. He didn't pick up. I tried to call my mom, and she didn't pick up. I tried to call two of my best friends. They didn't pick up. My 12-year-old mind immediately jumped to, they're all dead. And so for the first time in my life, I had to call 911. The operator picked up. I explained the situation with tears in my eyes from fear. She told me to stay calm and that the police were on their way. The difficult part about staying calm was there was a hallway by my front door. I knew in my heart of hearts that there was someone in that hallway about to jump out and really mess my day up. My two dogs were right behind me, also staring towards the hallway. They did not help the fear. I stood there rooted to the spot for what felt like an hour, but was actually only a few minutes, the operator's voice in my ear telling me to stay calm. Thankfully, my parents opened the front door. What are you doing? I explained to my father the situation we are currently in. He grabs his pistol from the front room. Didn't know that was there. Thanks, Dad. And we go hunting. I always thought it would be cool to go around clearing rooms and shit like a SWAT team. But if I wasn't about to shit myself every time we opened a bedroom door, we didn't find anything. The police arrived shortly after and told us that this had been happening over the past few weeks. People wait till the homeowners leave, check the door, and if it's unlocked, they go in and take valuables. They said whoever it was probably left when they heard that someone was home, which never quite sat right with me, because I only heard the door open and close once. Ever since this happened, I have triple-checked every door and window lock whenever I'm home alone. To whoever walked into my house that day, I never saw you, and I really hope I never do. When I was in college at 20 years old, I was lucky enough to spend a semester abroad in Cork, Ireland. I lived in a rundown apartment complex on the bank of the River Lee in an apartment with 5 other female students. It was a great location near the school and near downtown, and while the apartment was not luxurious, I didn't spend a lot of time there between classes and friends' places and weekends traveling the country. Our apartment was on the first floor, and the building had a front and side entrance. I sometimes used the side entrance when coming back from school, but that meant I often ran into the guy who lived next to the side door. I met him my first week there, where he said hello to me as I was walking out. I said, "Hi," back, which seemed friendly enough. I was young and Ireland was full of friendly people. This guy was in his mid-30s and not Irish. I don't know where he was from, but it seemed like English was a second language. He introduced himself and reached out to shake hands. I introduced myself and shook his hand. That's when he wouldn't let go. His grip was firm and tight, and he leaned in, pulling my arm closer. As he asked for my phone number, I lied and said I had just arrived. I didn't have a phone yet. He said that was okay and asked if I had a boyfriend. I didn't, but uncomfortable with the situation, I lied and said yes. I did. "Back home?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Well, you're here now, and he is there. I can be your boyfriend here." Fully freaked out now, I managed to get my hand back and excuse myself with something about having to go to class. I started to avoid that entrance. Talking with my roommate, I soon learned I wasn't the only one with a creepy experience with the guy down the hall. Often we'd leave the apartment in pairs or groups and avoided the side entrance. Although it was street level, there was a tall, spiked iron fence and a small depression of rocks and stones that kept anyone from getting too close to the building. I felt safe, even though keeping my window open when I was at home or sleeping. I tried to remember to close it when I left. One day, about a month into the semester, I noticed handprints on the thin layer of city soot that accumulated on my window. Looking at them, I realized they were from someone on the outside, pressing their palms into the glass, as if trying to look inside. Whoever it was would have had to stretch their arms out through the fence to reach the glass. I freaked out a little, but then I thought about the group of students on the second floor we often hung out with. They were good people and would call to us sometimes from the street to get our attention if they were going out. I figured it was just one of them seeing if we were home and brushed it off. I wish I hadn't. Maybe a week later, I was sitting on my bed near the window reading a book when I heard a tapping and got startled. I looked up. It was a creepy guy waving at me from the street. "Come outside," he said. I said no. He yelled again, and with my heart pounding, I pulled the window shut and closed the curtains. He kept tapping on the window for a minute, and I could hear him cajoling me to join him outside, until he gave up and left. I realized he knew not only my apartment now, but my room. I kept my curtains closed from then on. As I got busier and spent nights sleeping on friends' floors and weekends on short trips to England and Scotland, I didn't think of the guy much anymore, and didn't run into him for a while, hoping he got the hint. I was glad to miss him, until one night I got home very late. So late it was early, maybe 3 or 4 a.m. My friends had walked me home and seen me get safely in the front door of the apartment complex. More than a little drunk and exhausted, I came into my room, took off my clothes, and collapsed into bed. As I lay there, hoping sweet sleep would keep the room from spinning, I suddenly heard the apartment front door open. This, and of itself, wasn't unusual. I lived with 5 other people. They came in and out all the time, but it was very late for anyone to be getting home. Then I remembered 4 of them were gone for the weekend, and the 5th was staying with her boyfriend. My eyes sprang open, and I felt my adrenaline push the liquor from my blood. Someone was in my apartment. That's when the door to my room opened. The hallway light is on, and all I could see was a silhouette of a man. He stood in the door and stared at me. I clutched the duvet around myself and realized I was trapped, naked, alone in the apartment. The window was too small to get through, and the guy was bigger than me. In my still drunk state, I decided if I was alone, I was going to be as loud as I could. Maybe someone would hear me. I sat up and shouted, "No!" I saw him flinch and then step back. He said something I couldn't understand, and I shouted over him, "No, this is my room." He tried to talk again, and I shouted louder, "This is my room. Get out." He stumbled back into the hall a bit so I could see him better. It was Creepy Guy. I screamed this time, "Get out!" shrill and loud. And he grabbed the door handle and shut the door to my room. I was sitting up in the bed, my heart pounding, alone again in the dark. I heard him walk down the hallway outside my door and then back up. And then I heard the apartment door open and close. In a moment, I was up and throwing on a sweatshirt. I whipped open my bedroom door, turning all the apartment lights on, checking every corner. No one was there. He was gone. I checked the apartment door, which I found alarmingly was unlocked. I snapped the deadbolt and put on the chain, realizing my drunk self must have forgotten to lock the front door when I'd come in. Somehow Creepy Guy had been watching and took that as an invitation. I spent the rest of my night in my bed, waiting for daylight to come and for one of my roommates to get back. I told my roommates when they returned, to their horror, and we all double-checked all the locks from now on. The semester ended soon after, and a few friends and I left Ireland to spend a few weeks traveling Europe before going home. I luckily never saw Creepy Guy again. I hope he finally got the hint, but Creepy Guy who lived in my Irish apartment building, let's not meet ever again. So this happened in 2013 and I was 17. My family was looking at this house and the owner showed up and talked with my parents. Seemed like a nice older man. Built the house himself. It's a pretty nice 2-story house overlooking a river. Anyway, I was standing back watching everyone talk as the owner is talking and laughing. There's a break in the conversation where he turns away from my parents and his expression completely and instantly changes from happy to the most sinister and hateful scowl I've ever seen. I don't think he noticed me watching. I probably appeared to be on my phone as my head was down. As soon as he turned back, he instantly went back to smiling. It was so creepy, and honestly, it made me feel sick. I told my mom, who said it was weird, but maybe he's just an awkward guy. So we got the house. We moved in, and the next weekend my family is going to church. But I don't really feel like going. So they all leave me at home. So it's Sunday morning, about 11 a.m., when I hear a really loud banging outside. It's rhythmic and coming from the side of the house. I was on the other side of the house on the second floor. Honestly, my dumbass thought it was maybe the wind. It was stormy that day, and I didn't think much of it. It stopped after about 5 minutes. 10 minutes later, I hear walking around downstairs. Chairs moving, kitchen cabinets opening, and the fridge opening. I immediately quietly go lock my door, grab my baseball bat, and call 911. Well, I tell them my address, I text my mom and tell her that someone is in the house and that I've called 911. At that point, the 911 operator said that someone was 10 minutes out. I tell her shh, because I heard steps walking towards the stairs. Basically, the house is so thin, I could track where he was in the house. At this time, my mom responded that she's on her way. She's 30 minutes away, so here's a 17-year-old, 5'2", 100-pound girl, hunkered in her room, full well knowing that if he came in, he'd overpower me and take the bat. I was fucking terrified. I heard him walk down the hallway towards my door. I saw the handle turn and stop. It was locked, and I heard him stand there. He didn't move. I could hear his breathing. It felt like forever. But really, I'd think it was about 10 seconds. I had him turn and go back down. I heard the back door open and shut. And about 3 minutes later, the police pulled up. The 911 operator asked me if I could let them in or if they needed to force it. I knew he had left, so I let them in. No one was there, no sign of forced entry. Nothing. When my mom got there, she looked at my stepdad and asked if he had changed the locks. He hadn't. I think the creepiest part, and what really validated my story, was that my mom had just vacuumed the hallway, and there were shoe prints that were larger than anyone in our house. And the police hadn't been there, and they... Don't forget to change your locks.